Hello and welcome. I'm Ayushman Singh Jamwal and you are watching the continuous rolling coverage on the Gulf War that continues to escalate. The conflict in the Middle East has expanded beyond direct battlefield engagements. The United States has deployed bombers and naval forces to target Iranian missile systems and warships, while Iran has threatened shipping routes and Western vessels. Tensions in the Strait of Hormuz, a critical route for global oil trade, have surged, with tanker traffic dropping sharply as shipping companies are avoiding the area due to missile and drone threats. About 20% of the world's oil passes through this strait, and the disruption has already pushed energy markets into volatility. Now, Qatar has stated that the cost of oil could go up to $150 a barrel, which would be a death knell for the global economy. Inside Israel, a nationwide state of emergency has been declared. Schools and many businesses have closed. Reservists have been mobilized and civil defense systems are active amid repeated missile alerts. Meanwhile, heavy bombardment continues inside Iran, particularly around Tehran and strategic military locations. The United States administration has defended the strikes as necessary to stop Iran's military capabilities and nuclear ambitions, while Iran and several other countries have condemned them as violations of international law. Missile exchanges, airstrikes, and regional proxy fighting continue, raising the fears that the conflict could widen into a broader Middle Eastern war involving more countries and potentially reshaping global security and energy markets. But first, Donald Trump has just recently put out this post on Truth Social, where he has made it extremely clear there will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender. He's also said we and many of our allies and partners will work tirelessly to bring Iran from the brink of destruction, making it economically stronger than ever before. Iran will have a great future is the pitch that's coming in from Donald Trump. He's even coined the term MIGA, Make Iran Great Again, in this Truth Social post, as he has made it extremely clear there will be no deal with Iran. But a big statement coming in on the energy front after the concession which has come in from the Donald Trump administration, pretty much allowing India to buy Russian oil. So that 30-day waiver has come in from the Trump administration. But it's a stunning statement coming in from U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright. He has said, and I quote, U.S. has reached out to India for help to reduce oil prices. We have reached out to our friends in India to buy stored Russian oil that pulls oil into Indian refineries and releases pressure on the other global refineries. Listen in to what he had to say. This is what Chris Wright is saying that he's reached out to India to control the spike in global energy prices by buying Russian oil. A complete shift in narrative coming in from the Trump administration.
China just backed up. China does not treat their suppliers well. So there's a bunch of floating barrels just sitting there. We've reached out to our friends in India and said, buy that oil, bring it into your refineries. That pulls stored oil immediately into Indian refineries and releases the pressure on other refineries around the world to buy oil that they're no longer competing with the Indians for in that marketplace. So we have a number of measures like that that are short-term and temporary. This is no change in policy towards Russia. This is a very brief change in policy just to keep oil prices down a little bit better than we could otherwise.
And given the volatility, it's a stunning statement coming in from the U.S. Energy Secretary saying that the United States has reached out to India to control the spike in oil prices. All that hoo-ha about India buying Russian oil, funding the war machine in Ukraine, that seems to have taken a huge turn when it comes to the volatility in the energy markets and the situation in the Strait of Hormuz, where the shipping containers are being bombarded like the visuals we see on our screens, as well as the fact that the traffic has completely stopped in the Strait of Hormuz because Iran has said it will bombard European, Israeli and American assets in the Strait of Hormuz, spiking oil prices, where the Qatari government has even said that this would be disaster for the global economy. So you can see this conciliatory note coming in from the US administration, which is trying to change its entire tone when it comes to oil prices. If we look at what Scott Bessent had to say, we'll get that statement as well for you, ladies and gentlemen. Scott Bessent also making that statement on the oil prices, that 30-day concession has come. We'll put out the statement coming in from Scott Bessent over here. here when it comes to what he has said, and contrast that with what Chris Wright has just said. This is what Scott Bessent has said: temporary 30-day waiver to allow Indian refineries to purchase Russian oil. He goes on to say, when it comes to the entire energy regime, this short-term measure won't provide significant financial benefit to Russia. So you can see how the entire narrative is being played down from Scott Bessent. Earlier he used to say that India is funding the war machine in Ukraine, and now he's playing down the entire narrative because it's contingent on the United States to control energy prices, only authorizing transactions involving oil already stranded at sea. Also, he goes on to say that India is an essential partner of the United States, and also adding that he will give that 30-day concession that's coming in from the Trump administration when it comes to the energy markets to control the price of oil. We fully anticipate that New Delhi will ramp up purchases of US oil. So that statement also coming in from Scott Bessent, saying that the supply chains will shift. But this 30-day concession coming in from the US administration, also a huge U-turn on their language surrounding India buying Russian oil. And at the same time, Chris Wright has also stated that they reached out to India so that they would buy Russian oil and bring down those energy prices. Let's get to our guests. I'm joined by Prabhu Dayal, former diplomat, as well as Anat Bernstein-Reich, chair of the Israel-India Chamber of Commerce. Now, Prabhu Dayal, I'll come to you first. You see how the circumstances in the global order have changed, and Donald Trump now changing his entire tune when it comes to India buying Russian oil.
Well, I think it's entirely laughable how the United States thinks that it can tell India when to buy and when not to buy. We have all along said that such matters lie within our strategic autonomy. We will buy whatever is in our interest from whomsoever we feel we need to. So India had never stopped buying Russian oil. So it's not as if the United States can now tell us to start buying for some more time. We are totally committed to meeting our interests on our terms, and regardless of what the United States thinks it can tell us, we feel we have the right to decide from whom we want to buy and when we want to buy. And as I said, we have never stopped buying oil from Russia, and we never intended to stop buying it.
Right. And Ms. Bernstein-Reich, I want to come to you on this entire point. Of course, we'll talk about the wider Israel-Iran conflict as well as the statements coming in from the United States. But talking about the energy front and the United States pretty much changing its tune when it comes to India buying Russian oil. Now, Chris Wright, the energy secretary, has said that India has been implored by the Trump administration to buy Russian oil to bring down the cost of energy across the globe. Qatar has said that the price of oil could go up to $150 per barrel in the next 2 to 3 weeks, which would be disastrous for the global economy. Now, this comes in stark contrast to what the Trump administration used to say, blaming India for funding the war machine in Ukraine.
I think that it's, maybe today they say it and tomorrow they'll forget about it. So I wouldn't put too much attention to someone that said that. I would focus on the fact that this is an opportunity for all of us to build the IMEC from India via Saudi to Israel and then to Europe, and not be dependent on the Hormuz Straits or Bab el-Mandeb Straits. And this is something that started in India. This is something that Prime Minister Modi spoke about last week in the Israeli parliament. This is an opportunity, and now we see how important it is to build this bridge through Saudi and going to Europe. So this is my take. I wouldn't bother about blaming India or not blaming India. We know that India will do what's good for India. That's the motive that Prime Minister Modi and Dr. Jay Shankar are carrying all through. We all know that. And this 30 days will be extended to another 30 days and so on. So I wouldn't put any too much into that.
And I'm definitely sure this 30 days will turn into another 30 days, because it doesn't seem that the war with Iran will wind down anytime soon. And the aim of the United States will be to control those global oil prices. And what I'm trying to figure out over here, and as an Israeli yourself, and given the fact that you're being supported by the United States in this campaign against Iran, is it a little problematic how sharply the narrative changes from Donald Trump?
Donald Trump, we know that he is an unexpected person. It's expected him to be unexpected. That's what we are saying all the time. But still, I believe that at the moment, he is doing weighing interests. So his interest now is actually to fight Iran, and less important, the relations with the problem with Russia. So he allowed this purchase of oil from Russia. Let's say that in 2 months, the war with Iran, as we say, inshallah, will be over, and this regime will be down, and then he will be back to imposing those, I wouldn't say sanctions, but restrictions on India. And this is an agreement that just a few weeks back, US and India reached some understanding about the oil from Russia.
I can't believe that we, as people who observe global affairs, are saying that with such a straight face, that he is so unpredictable that currently he's giving us a concession. Tomorrow he'll just take it back. Prabhu Dayal, when it comes to the global world order, what does that do to long-term plans? Because diplomacy is not done on a day-to-day basis. We have long-term strategies from economic standpoints. Also, we have long-term strategies. The IMEC is a long-term economic strategy. And to a great extent, it seems that you should bank on strategies such as IMEC to ensure energy security, or just wait out till Donald Trump gets elected out of power in the next 3 years. Until then, just face the chaos on the global stage.
Well, you're right. Strategies are fashioned on the basis of long-term interest. But as Ms. Bernstein pointed out, Donald Trump is very unpredictable, and he changes his stance so rapidly. We are getting used to it. But nonetheless, we have learned how to fashion our policy in the face of such rapid volte-faces or transformations on the part of the Trump administration. His administration says something one day and says something totally different the other day. Now, let me briefly talk about the IMEC corridor, to which Ms. Bernstein referred. That was our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi's idea. But to approach the landmass in the Arab Peninsula, we would have to enter through the Strait of Hormuz. So, peace in the Gulf region, peace in the Strait of Hormuz would still be necessary for the corridor to reach UAE, from there go on to Saudi Arabia, then Jordan, Israel, and then on to Europe. And in any case, there is so much instability in that region that for the present, this great project which we had wanted to execute has been brought to a standstill. However, we have a long-term vision. We keep our options open, and I think the government of India has made it very clear that it will base its foreign policy on its national interest, and it will exercise strategic autonomy.
Right, Prabhu Dayal, and I want to get to you on this point, because you're getting a huge update that's coming in on the concept that you're talking about, strategic autonomy.